mysteries themselves are almost inconsequential. They kind of, I mean, I'm fascinated by all of them, but at the same time, I'm also bemused by UFO reports and Bigfoot reports and that kind of thing. I really just have had enough of all that.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by the people that are looking into it, and I feel like what got me interested in it is that there's something to this. There's something to the paranormal, whether it's, I don't know what it is, but there's something to it, and it sort of nags at me. And part of what the show really is my journey to find out what's behind all of this and to try and figure it all out.
Sure, I mean,
riding along with me. I mean, I know as much as you do about not about the guests because I've read their books and done the research to have them on the show, but you know, I'm just like everybody else who's listening to the show. I just want to find out what's going on. You know that because like, why else would I be doing this?
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's a good way to do it because kind of, you know, chronicling your own journey, so to speak, lets other people who are in the same position to kind of jump on that bandwagon or you know, to kind of, you know, get the same feel for it and develop at the same pace, I guess, and be introduced to a lot of these different theories that are out there, basically. So, yeah, I think that's a good idea, a good concept, basically. So, I mean, if we were to, I guess, dive into this, then dissect the phenomena, I mean, obviously, I think there's a lot of people out there who are ready to pinpoint this, pin down this phenomena in itself and say, you know, what it is. Is there any theory that you kind of lean towards in regards to what the UFO phenomena is? Nuts and bolts, where do you want to go with it?
You know, I really, I'm open to the whole spectrum, obviously, but at the same time, I guess I would have to say that I think they're probably ETs of some kind. When you start adding in this dimensional stuff and multiverse-type situations, that's just confusing. Time travelers, you know, I think it's the whole spectrum. I'd say maybe the bulk is extraterrestrial, but you also have to include and I guess subtract that the a large amount is government craft that we think is UFOs. So I think it's a mix, really, altogether. And I wouldn't be surprised if it's ETs, but also at the same time, I'm really down and kind of thinking that a lot of this stuff might be government stuff.
Interesting. Yeah, because, you know, one of the questions I had here is, you know, if it is necessary to connect the two, I mean, ETs with UFOs, because it feels like this is kind of a mistake that happens pretty early on, that just because you talk about UFOs, you actually are talking about green little men or something like that, and that, I mean, I feel that isn't the case at all. I mean, this is a totally separate phenomena because these are basically, the word says, you know, that this is unidentified flying objects. I mean, this could be whatever, basically.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right, and I think a lot of, I think you're kind of seeing that in ufology. If you want, like you're saying, if you want to talk about big picture ufology, I think you're seeing that in ufology today. With there's sort of camps going on. You know, there's old school, and they're part of the ET thing, and then there's sort of like this new school that's coming along, that people who are not as open to the ET thing, or are kind of like me in a sense, who say, you know, it might be ETs, but it could also be a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah. And
who want to sort of challenge that paradigm, and also you have to throw into the mix in this stew of people in ufology also the exopolitical movement, which is sort of a more proactive UFO cause that's sort of at odds with you know, the more science-based UFO cause that's really more into investigating and less into pushing for some kind of resolution from the government or powers that be.
The exopolitics, this is Michael Salla, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Michael Salla, I mean, it's a whole branch of people that are a part of that. And I mean, I am affiliated with Michael Salla's Exopolitics Institute. I'm a media advisor for them. I mean, I just joined up like in January, so I haven't really done anything to advise them on yet. So I'm really sort of media advisor in name only right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm totally down with a more proactive approach to the UFO phenomenon.
Yeah.
So I'm not like some people there, and also in this UFO stew, you have these groups that are, you know, they don't just disagree, but they like vehemently disagree, which is kind of fun in a way to watch from the outside, because, you know, they're fighting over this, and it's entertaining in a way.
Is this, I guess, danger to kind of this takes so much time to just bash each other and each other's opinions and theories
Absolutely.
I mean, it feels like the time is disappearing on this nonsense, basically. I don't know, but maybe it's necessary in one sense. I don't know. What's your idea on that?
I don't know. I mean, it's inevitable, and it's absolutely hurts the field overall. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But I mean, maybe that happens in every field of research. I'm not sure. Maybe the people who are researching cancer have their own factions that disagree on things.
Oh, certainly. Yeah. I mean, I guess you could say that.
But it's definitely bad for UFO research in general. I think part of the problem is that ufology doesn't really have like a direction or an end game, really. I mean, you could probably pick 10 different ufologists, and if you ask them what they want, you would get like 10 different answers. I mean, it needs to be maybe more of a uniformity in goals, not just proving what UFOs are. That's too nebulous a goal to try and tackle.
Yeah.
That's like the war on terror. If we need maybe, I mean, lately I've been thinking maybe if everybody who is down with UFOs was we'd like congressional hearings. That's it. Just leave it at that, and just everybody who was interviewed for stuff ended it with, we'd like to see congressional hearings on UFOs, and we brought our best cases to the forefront there, then maybe it would work. But, you don't really see that, and you have a guest on. I'm sure there was lots of people on who were talking about the O'Hare story, and I'm sure at the end of it, the anchor's like, well, it's a mystery, and now on to sports.
Exactly.
It's like, there's no what next. There's no, well, what are we going to do now?
Yeah, exactly.
That needs to be filled. That's a void that needs to be filled.
Certainly, and I mean, let's talk about that rather for a while, because of course, one of the consequences of this is, I guess, the direction that the Disclosure Project takes on this, and Stephen Greer, that this actually might lead up to ourselves developing, sustainable energy and going away from oil and so forth. And I mean, that's a huge step in our own development. So I mean, do you think that this is relevant to the field? I mean, as a consequence.
What's that, free energy?
Yeah, I mean, or alternative energy or stuff like this.
Yeah, well, I think part of that, I'm of the opinion that if the government knows about UFOs, it knows about free energy, and then in turn the government can't tell us about UFOs because then they'd give away the free energy. So maybe until they can figure out a way to harness it and then charge people for it, the UFO story is going to be kept in the background. I mean, that seems to be like, I'm sure to some people that would be a really wild point of view, but I mean, I think that's one of the big factors that keeps the UFO phenomenon under wraps, is that it opens up a whole myriad of problems like that. That it just, the buck keeps getting passed from one bureaucratic head to another who does not want to deal with this whole mess of problems.
Are you familiar with the Brookings report?
Of course.
I mean, there we go right there, I think, because mainly, if we have a government or a global, I don't know what we're dealing with at this point, but I guess a mentality within the governments that think that, we shouldn't change too much because, their power could, develop into other hands or whatever. I mean, they basically have set up their organizations, the government organizations, to sustain their, their power and their position in society, and all things that upsets that are a threat to the government. So that in itself says, that is the reason, I guess, for a legitimate cover-up from their part, I guess.
Yeah. What are you asking me? I'm sorry. I just a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Basically, I'm asking, often a cover-up from the government seems like as you said, like a very, out of an fringe idea or a conspiracy theory in that sense. But I think that the Brookings report actually step by step lays out the idea that the government would withhold information and
oh, absolutely, yeah. And I think are you asking me that is there proof that the government has been? I mean, I think it's just indisputable that the government's covered up something about UFOs.
Sure, yeah, sure, absolutely.
What it is, I don't know. I mean, that goes back to the question of what's in the UFOs.
Let's,
if it's ETs, then they're covering that up. If it's interdimensional stuff or something, then they might be covering up that it has to do with free energy or something.
Sure, absolutely. Maybe for people who don't know, could you talk a little bit about the Brookings Report? What do you know about it in that sense?
Oh, geez, you're putting me on the spot here.
Okay, sure.
I mean,
no problem.
I get the Brookings Report confused with all the other. Oh, now I remember. After you give me, I told you I wasn't feeling well.
No, Tim, we don't have to go there. It's okay. But basically, I guess the Brookings Report states, as I said, basically that a study into history and so forth have revealed that when a foreign idea or concept being a different culture or a different technology coming into that society, that can actually cause the society or that civilization to collapse. So the best way to kind of prevent a collapse of civilization is to try to shut out everything that can, change the status quo or the current paradigm.
Yeah, well, I think
that's basically
to sort of speak to that Brookings mentality, I think that there's definitely been sort of a percolation of slow assimilation of the alien idea into the populace. And that's part of the big reason why I'm excited about young people in the esoteric, because I feel like as it's a generational thing too in a lot of ways. I feel like I can't imagine. I feel like I'd like to look at some kind of survey that has the numbers on what people believe and what the demographics would be on people who believe in the esoteric matters. Because I feel like maybe the young people are more open to that sort of thing because they've grown up around that, and therefore they may be the best chance at changing the system, because when they get into seats of power, they're going to be more open to just letting it all fly out.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, that's one of the things that I've heard from you. I mean, you have an interesting kind of, I guess, bringing young people to the field, and I mean, I think you do an excellent job at that. But do you think that this is? Have you noticed that interest is kind of stagnating or anything like that, or is it increasing?
I think it's stagnating in ufology. I think that one of the things I pointed out lately, I noticed in the last couple of years, is that a lot of young people are gravitating towards the 9/11 story.
Yeah.
I mean, the young people in the esoteric will probably always be there, but right now they're down with 9/11 and Wiccan type stuff. And EVPs, really, that seems to be kind of cool. So, ghost hunting and 9/11 and Wicca, those are sort of like what's hot with young people, and we kind of have to wait for a turnaround in ufology to really pick back up those young people right now.
Sure.
But it's a problem overall. It's a problem for ufology. I mean, it's good for ghost hunting. And it's good for the 9/11 movement, and I mean, more power to them. That's great. But definitely it's a problem in ufology, only because we're dealing with a lot of great researchers who are way past middle age. So, we need new blood to sort of carry on their legacy and make sure people don't forget about who these folks are and remember their work and advance their work.
What do you think would change it? A big sighting, maybe? That's the easiest way, I guess.
No, I don't think a big sighting would do it. We talked about, before we got on the show, about this O'Hare thing and how I don't really think there's much to it. I'm not impressed by the O'Hare story. Like I said, I'm really burned out on UFO sighting stories altogether. And this one, I think I don't know if it's just my mentality, because I come from Boston, or if it's just my wry look at the world of the esoteric, but, I was more annoyed and disgusted when the O'Hare story broke, because I really felt like, that don't patronize me was sort of my attitude about that towards the mainstream media, and I think a lot of people in ufology were really excited and that sort of thing, but then, like I said, today everybody really cares about Anna Nicole Smith and her tragic death, and the O'Hare UFO story is probably the least important thing on a lot of people's minds altogether, because it went in one ear and out the other as far as as far as stories go in the media, and I wasn't surprised, because the end of